What's up, guys? Hope you're all having great hunting this fall. We're coming at you with a video from this past weekend. I got out with a new friend that's becoming a pretty good friend. He's a really awesome dude. And we got out hunting some public land around where I go to school this weekend. And ended up having a pretty good hunt for as short as it was and how unplanned and unorthodox. We came into the hunt pretty much thinking we were just going to be scouting. And that's mainly what we did anyhow. But it was really due to the fact that I wasn't sure if I had any spots that I was super confident that we could find a deer that he wanted to shoot at. So anyway, we got in the truck and drove around Sunrise, and we're mainly doing some scouting, and we're in this open marsh type habitat, which sets up really awesome for this style of hunting. And as luck would have it, we saw the biggest buck that I had ever seen in that particular unit. And I get pretty excited in the video. It's kind of funny looking back on it. The buck wasn't nearly as big as I thought it was in the viewfinder, but it was still definitely a stud of a public land deer, especially on that particular unit that I've had a little bit of history with. I know that's a really good deer for that area, and we first saw him and just caught a glimpse of him in the marsh and thought he was a stud, and that was our whole plan to begin with, is to go after him and then when we get a better look at him, decide from there. But anyway, it was a pretty good deer and we decided to go after him. So without further ado, I'll roll the video, and then I'm going to come back and talk a little bit more about the strategy going into this hunt, because I think it's something that pretty much everybody should be utilizing. I've had a lot of good luck with it in the past.
It's an 8-pointer, but it got like really long beams. That's a stud, dude. Dude, we can kill that deer if you want. Or we can try. How close is that car though? I wonder where that dude's at.
Looks like he's just
lip curling.
Huh?
He's lip curling.
Oh, he got a doe or something?
Yeah. That's what I thought. I saw a doe earlier. He's thick though.
Well, haven't even got out of the truck, and this is the best hunt I've ever had on this piece.
I don't know.
All I know, that's a stud of a public land deer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I just know you have a ton of big deer to hunt. You can always try to get on them and then make a decision.
Oh, there goes the doe.
Should I drive?
Yeah, she's looking at us. Let's see if he pops out at all.
Well, I guess we gotta turn this into a hunting video, huh?
I guess. Better put my boots on for the marsh.
Alright guys, we are out on a pretty late morning hunt, and I'm out with a buddy that's up here where I go to school, and we just met this year, but he chases a ton of big deer. He actually followed the channel before we even met. And anyway, he's from western Iowa. He's all the way out here in eastern Iowa where I'm at, and just came up for the weekend, so we decided we'd basically just go scout. And I mean, I didn't want to get up super early. He hunts a ton of big deer, and like, they're good hunters. I didn't have anywhere that I was like super confident that we'd see one of the caliber that he wants. And so basically we decided we'd get up at 6 and drive around Sunrise. I wanted to go scout this place here. This unit's a huge marsh, but it gets a ton of pressure from the two big cities around here. Like, probably one of the most pressured pieces I've seen and been hunting. I hunted a couple times, well, quite a bit 2 years ago, and never saw a buck that was like, had even a decent rack. Saw a lot of deer, figured a lot out about it, but I'm actually on the other side, and I basically just picked a spot that I was like, I've never even thought about hunting here. I'm gonna go see what it looks like. And driving around, I've only seen one car parked, drove around a lot of area, and then we just came up on this buck that is basically just locked on this doe, and he's about 150, 200 yards from the road. And stuff just got really fast. I mean, I'm not even wearing camo. Got my blue jeans on. I don't have any of my good gear here. but it's a pretty nice deer. Like, definitely the biggest deer I've seen on public around here. And I'm pretty pumped up about it. So we pulled off, and I'm guessing they're still right there. We're probably within 300 yards of them right now. So we're gonna try to get eyes on them from the road, and then maybe circle around them and make a play. Let's cross our fingers. What's the plan?
We're just gonna cut through here real slow and try and get on the edge where we can hopefully get eyes on him.
Sweet.
And then we'll see if they're still heading this way. Maybe we can cut them off.
Sweet. It's never a bad sign. Tracks in the parking lot. The status on this deer.
I don't really know. I mean, he could be anywhere. I think we might try and work this willow patch and see if we can pop out.
We were probably within 150 yards of him on the initial.
Yeah. No more than, I mean, he wasn't any farther than 200.
We got blocked by water.
Yeah, lots of it. Hell yeah. The trails out here are unreal.
Yeah.
It's like a cattle yard.
So we ended up going after this deer and never did catch up to him. We quickly got blocked by quite a bit of water. We might have been able to get through it, but I wasn't wearing my rubber boots. All my good gear is down at the cabin and didn't have it here with me on that hunt, hence the flannel and everything too. But that probably even played into them being where they were. Toby said he's seen a lot of mature bucks over the years pushing does during this time of the year when they're locked down like that one was, pushing them in areas that not a lot of other deer are going to be. Even though it looked like the trails were pretty heavy even through that water, so I think there could be other deer in there, but just pushing them into areas where there's a little bit lower density of other bucks that they get harassed a little bit less. And of course, after we ran into that water, we tried to go around them at a few different angles from different parking lots and parking areas, and there was just no getting to them with the gear that I had on. So had to let them live another day, and I don't think Toby probably would have shot it unless it was like a pretty sweet encounter, and I'm sure it would have been on the ground with two of us there filming him on that public land too. So really fun hunt anyway. We got a lot of really good scouting in. There is way more deer sign than I thought there would be in there, and this year it's kind of a weird year all throughout Iowa pretty much. There is a lot of farmers that didn't get most of their crops in this spring, and that particular river bottom didn't get hardly any at all. So on the public land itself, there's almost no ag fields, and I kind of didn't know how that would affect things. That's one of the things I wanted to go check out and confirm. I figured there wouldn't be any row crops planted, but I was right. That's pretty much exactly what I found, and wasn't sure how that would affect things, but the deer are still in there really thick, and I'm excited to see how maybe that plays into the late season. I basically went into it and picked an area that I've hunted that whole general region, but never that area. I just looked at the map and said, hey, where have I not thought about going hunting for deer? And that was like a big section that just jumped out at me. It's like, well, I wonder why I haven't gone there. And it's just, it doesn't really look like particularly good deer habitat. There's not many trees that you can get a tree stand in, so I'm sure that deters a lot of hunters. And I just said, all right, let's go check it out. And I'm pretty glad we did. So I'm interested to see what that looks like in the late season. I'm not sure how it's gonna be this year without any row crops for food, but I know they eat a bunch of that river bottom and all that vegetation that's coming up in those ag fields anyhow. It just didn't look very appetizing to me, that's for sure. I'm not sure, I think we saw one other deer hunter drive around that morning in that area, but that gets me pretty fired up for the late season, and it'd be nice to have a spot that's a little bit closer to home here, so I can hunt a little bit during the week, hopefully. But I want to talk a little bit about the strategy going into that hunt and what we were doing, just driving around like that. it's something that I don't think hardly anyone utilizes, is to be that mobile. I mean, there's being mobile within the hunt, and there's being mobile like driving around looking for deer, like really getting after it. Trevor and I and my buddies joke around it as like the whitetail adrenaline style. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen their videos, and it's pretty sweet. They have a lot of good luck doing that, where they're cruising old like just roads and glassing up bucks in this open type terrain. Even if it's not open type terrain, I've had luck with it. You know, you just pop over the hill into the ag field, or you scout through this CRP field or whatever, and like this marks that we were in this video, you can have a lot of good luck doing it. And I think at certain times of year it makes a lot of sense to do it when, you know, maybe the bucks are on lockdown like they probably were when we were hunting them this weekend. I think it makes sense to just go find them. I mean, you might not have as good of a chance as if you're just sitting there, but then who's to say that something's actually going to stroll through if they're not moving in the first place? And I think I'll take that risk versus reward. I mean, I'd rather do a lot of in-season scouting and just know that I'm where the deer are, or at least I'm looking for them, than just sit in one spot and just have blind hope and wait. So I think it's really important to just keep doing that in-season scouting. And then more specifically for this video, it's just a great strategy during some times of the year. You know, lockdown, maybe late season. I think I'll do a lot of it after the shotgun seasons roll through here in Iowa, because the public lands get pushed like crazy and it shuts down a lot of the natural deer movement. So I think I'll be using this strategy in the late season, like just covering a lot of miles trying to find these deer instead of just waiting and hoping that they come out. And like in the case of this video, we definitely didn't get on that deer, or we didn't get close enough for a bow at least. Maybe with a gun we would have been close enough if it wouldn't have been so tall a brush. But you might not get on them right away that day, but having that intel is just going to help you for the rest of the season and then years to come. Just that in-season scouting is so important, and then you can have something to go off of that's just really recent information, and you know where they're going to be, so maybe you can make a play on them the next day and have a little bit better success. Probably the coolest example I have of this is back 2 seasons ago. It was late season, and Jack and I were out hunting. We were staying at a buddy's cabin, and it was a really fun week, but it was the last night we were going to be there, and Dylan had actually just killed his stud the night before, I believe, and it was really cool. But anyhow, we went out to some public land the next night and got a mile deep and weren't having any luck. I mean, we saw a few little bucks, but we probably pushed out the whole unit, and it was kind of funny because I probably would have shot one of those little bucks earlier in the night. But we had just decided that I had either pushed everything out of this section that we were hunting, or that nothing was going to come through. And anyway, we only had an hour left of light, and we just decided to do exactly what we did in this video and just beat feet back to the parking lot, get in the truck, and then drive around this public land. And we get to the truck finally. We're like running out too, because we're running out of time and it's late season. I mean, it's stressful stuff, right? And we get in the car. There's like hordes of deer everywhere, big bucks on the private land surrounding this public land, but nothing that we can hunt. And we're like getting all frustrated, and we're joking around and stuff. And finally we pull into this parking lot and get out. There's boot tracks everywhere. I mean, I don't know when, but a ton of people had been hunting it. There was snow and boot tracks everywhere, and we almost didn't even go over the hill. And this is one of those places that, yeah, we were driving around, but then we still had to peek over the hill. And so we almost turned around and we're like, no, if we do that, there'll be a giant buck in the bottom there, just waiting to be shot. And so we convinced ourselves to keep walking. I mean, no more than crested the hill 50 yards after that, and there was just this big thing. I mean, probably to this day, one of the biggest deer I've ever seen on public land, just a palmated beast, like a moose, and just a really sweet buck. He was feeding down on the bottom, and if one of us would have had his muzzleloader, we could have definitely gotten a shot. Jack had just killed the big sexy 6 a couple weeks before, and I didn't have a muzzleloader tag, so I used it in shotgun season that year. But anyway, that could have been a hunt where that really would have been a success story on an amazing public land buck. And I wish it would have worked out, but we ended up trying to get close to him with a bow that night and got close to some of the other deer and just ultimately ran out of light. So that can happen, but unfortunately we also had to leave that night, and they didn't get to go back down and hunt it for at least a week, I think, and then the season ended. And so unfortunately we didn't get to use it quite as much as we could have. I think it was still a cold snap, so I think, man, if we could have just gone down there and set up that next night, we might have even killed him then. But just wanted to outline that hunt because it was super cool, and we've gotten a lot of new followers since then. A lot of people probably didn't catch that video. So, but anyway, it was a fun morning out in the woods. I really love driving around, especially in the rut, and just watching deer. So learned a lot, and hopefully I'll be hunting that unit come this winter a little bit, and we can put a big buck down. I hope you learned from this, and the big takeaway is just scout as much as you can. Trail cameras included, but that in-season scouting is just invaluable knowledge that will really help out your season, I think. So anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.